patience, it's important. If you are building in the city of Boston, you gotta be patient. In general, it's probably gonna take over 12 months to rezone a piece of land, or if you wanna go from a single family to a 2-family or 3-family, if you're going through the rezoning process, that's gonna take time. You gotta be patient to make this happen. Hey guys, Enis here with Whiteacre Properties. I'm in Roxbury today. It's really freezing. It's end of April, but it's like 32 degrees and windy. But I wanted to show you guys what we are working on, and it's gonna be obviously day one for us here. It's ground up new construction. We are at 15 Mayotte Street in Roxbury. Right now we have staked the lot, and pretty much next we're gonna dig the hole and then work on the foundation. So tomorrow the guys will be here with the excavator. I think within a week or so, we'll bring the foundation guys back, pour foundation, and then start framing. So next 30 days, that's what we're gonna be doing. This is a 4-story high, 3-unit condo ground up new construction. But we just wrapped up our modular build here in Dorchester. That is closing this month. So we are ready to move on to this one. That project didn't scare us, actually. We learned a ton. And the good thing is we made a lot of mistakes, learned from it. Now we're gonna rinse and repeat. So this is our second ground up new construction, literally a couple blocks down the road. And I'm excited because everything I learned there, we can actually apply here and become better builders. 2017 is actually when we bought this building right here. It's number 17 Mayotte Street. It was a short sale. Back then, I didn't have a ton of experience with ground up new construction or full gut rehabs on multifamily. But we got this lead. The lady called us from a direct mail. They had kind of given up on the property itself. They hadn't paid the mortgage. The parents had passed away. The mortgage was really high, and they kind of forgot about the property. They left it alone. However, we kept mailing them. I think originally we mailed to this address, and this was abandoned and was vacant. It was like the worst house on the street. They got the letter. They were like, why are these guys calling us? So they called us back, and once we get a lead, we're like crazy after it. We want to figure out what happened, how can we help them out, and we figured out their existing mortgage was like $500,000. The property was run down. It was worth maybe $250,000, $300,000. To make the story short, we ended up offering $200,000 to the bank to do a short sale, meaning they had to take a loss on that mortgage because it was sitting vacant. There's nothing they could do. So they took it. They took our offer of $200,000. We were excited, and then as we were trying to get to closing, we realized these people, actually the homeowners, the person that passed away didn't have a will. They had never done a probate, so that was the next step for us. So we had to pay out of pocket, find an attorney, get the heirs in a position they could sell to us, because again, the owner on the deed had passed away. This is typically what we do. We'll find out the answer. We got it done regardless, but this was like end of 2017 into 2018. Bought the property and then did a full gut rehab and have kept this as a rental since, which we're extremely happy because this neighborhood has been up and coming. Again, we paid $200,000 for the 3-family. I think I spent probably about $225 renovating it. No, I lied. It was probably a little bit more than that. But I think we're all in, we're somewhere in the range of $500,000. Regardless, it's a great project. It's a 3-family that cash flows really well. Now, that brings me to the land here. When they sold us a triple-decker, they said, hey, we also have the vacant land next to it. We want to sell that as well. So we went back and forth. We paid them $75,000 for this property. We took a risk because this land back then wasn't buildable by right. And we do this quite often. We take risk, and that risk sometimes pays off and sometimes it doesn't. However, I love the expression, who dares wins, right? Like sometimes you gotta dare, you gotta throw yourself out there. But it was calculated risk. We only paid $75,000 for it. It wasn't buildable by right. And what I mean by that is, and in the city of Boston, almost nothing is buildable by right. But what I mean by that is it didn't have the required frontage that the zoning here allows for. To build another structure on it. So frontage, it didn't have parking, it didn't have minimum lot requirements. So those are things that you need if you want to build and you got to check with the zoning code to make sure that you can build by right. Again, we did that. We checked on it, it wasn't buildable by right. The other thing is it had what's called a yard sale restriction. The city of Boston, I don't know when they started it, I think maybe late 70s or in the 80s, they started giving away lots like this, vacant lots, to adjacent buildings, to the adjacent building owners, right? So the city owned this lot for many years in the past, and they didn't want to mow the lawn, they didn't want to maintain the property, so they said, for I think probably for $1,000, they started selling this vacant lot to the adjacent buildings owners so they can take care of it. However, when they sold it for $1,000 to these owners, they said you cannot build on it. You cannot. I think the only thing you could do was maybe use it as a backyard, do gardening, maybe park on that space, but you could not build on it. So this house had a 30-year restriction on that. Like, that owner could not build on it for 30 years. When we bought it, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 years left, and we didn't know if the city was going to extend that restriction. Again, it's called yard sale restriction. It's something that shows up on the deed. But if you buy a vacant land in the city of Boston, you got to look at that. Does this piece of land have a title restriction? Because if it does, you cannot build on it, right? Even if it's by right project, or even if you are willing to go for a rezoning with the city, if that title restriction is in place, you cannot build on it. We got lucky here, and I mentioned risk. We did take a risk because we didn't know what was going to happen. But we said, hey, worst case scenario, we can use it as parking. Parking is always great in the city. If you have it, the value of the property goes up. However, as we were going through the full gut rehab here, the 30-year actually passed, and the city didn't extend that restriction, right? So we got lucky. And as we were waiting, we said, hey, let's actually try to rezone the property, right? It's vacant land. Let's see if we can put another 3-family here. And we did. So we hired if you guys have watched my videos, probably have seen the process, but if you haven't, we hired an attorney, we hired a land surveyor, we went through the rezoning process, and we presented here to the neighborhood that we wanted to put a 3-family ground up new construction property here, and people actually said, that's fine. You guys have parking. The building that we're gonna put up is gonna look similar to what's on the street, so it's nothing unusual. So they were happy with it. We went to the ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals in Boston. They said yes, we got approved. Then we went to BPDA, which is the Boston Design Review Agency, and they said yes, and they gave us some feedback on what type of finishes we have to put on the exterior. And then we went for a building permit. So looks like an easy and simple process. However, in the city of Boston, nothing is easy and simple. It's long. I think this probably the whole process took us 24 months, and we were fine with it, right? We owned this property. This was cash flowing, and then we're sitting on the vacant land. Again, we only spent $75,000. So not any holding cost. Now you got to be careful, because some people obviously are paying a lot of money for land, and if you are paying $400,000-500,000 or more, and you have monthly holding costs, and you got vacant land, well, that hurts, right? And that's how people actually can get in trouble, because one, maybe you don't get approved, maybe it's going to take years to get approved, and those monthly fees and monthly holding costs are going to kill you. So we didn't have any of that. That's why we took a calculated risk. It paid out. And now we're gonna start building. All right, guys, one other thing I wanted to mention is what's going on with the lumber prices. We submitted a quote to our lumber yard in the past, I think just about a month ago, and then we weren't ready to break ground yet, so we waited. We didn't place the order for the framing, and then we resubmitted our quote to them, I think a couple days ago, and it came back $35,000 higher within a matter of 30 days, right? So that cost, unfortunately, we can't control. However, that's really painful, because that's gonna be taken from our bottom line, right? Whatever profit we're gonna make, the lumberyard going high and skyrocketing, that's definitely gonna affect our bottom line. Hopefully, when we finish these 3 condos, we'll be able to get paid more, right? Get an offer price higher than our expectations. But I don't know. I mean, this is really stressful. The fact that everything has gone up so much, as far as finished products, siding, windows, and especially lumber, that's painful. So something to keep in mind as you budget, especially if you're doing new construction, for framing and all the other finishes, because everything is going up. And just budget right. That's what I want to say. Definitely taking a hit here with lumber, but again, it's out of our control. We have to push forward and continue with the project. We can't stop right now, because the sooner we start and go all in, the sooner we can wrap this up and sell the 3 condos. Again, finished product here is going to be 4-story high building, 3 condos. Top unit is going to be duplex, so it's going to be 2 floors there. It's really nice finished product, and this is definitely a good neighborhood, close to Dudley Square. It's an up and coming area. We have owned the rental next door to it for many years with no problem, so we are super excited to get this going. All right, guys, if you like this, please share, subscribe, comment. I'm out here in the freezing cold, so I ask you to at least give me some love back, and whatever questions, whatever you want to ask me, please do that below. All right, hope you guys are enjoying this, and see you on the next one.